When it comes to a generation of coddled young adults, parents are often the biggest culprits. But now it's been reported that parents are helping their grown children completely avoid independence and self-sufficiency altogether. Welcome back to the Dr. Phil Podcast. You can click the follow and subscribe to get this daily on all podcast players and YouTube. So what do I mean? Well, in record numbers, adult children are now foregoing living on their own to instead go live with their mom and dad. And it's not just a couple of adult children here and there. I'm talking about nearly 50% of all 18 to 29-year-olds, the highest levels of failure to launch in 80 years. But these young adults claim they have no choice but to freeload at home, rent-free. Why? Because they insist they can't afford to survive on their own in today's economy. But not everyone is on board with the new Boomerang Trend, because the naysayers claim this is just another way for parents to help weaken and misguide a generation of young adults even further. Adult children foregoing their independence to go live with mommy and daddy.
Young people today are struggling with resilience and coping skills because there's zero discomfort, there's zero challenge.
So you've never been self-sufficient at all?
No. If that works for us, I don't see why there's a problem with that.
You're 24, 25 years old and you're living at home. I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing. It's no secret that we have a Codle generation of young adults that have been shielded from facing any type of adversity and protected from failure and self-sufficiency. In fact, a recent survey of adults found 71% of them don't even believe adulthood starts until, get this, 27 years old. And many parents agree, because they are actually helping their grown children remove the adult from adulthood. What do I mean? Well, adult children are now foregoing their independence at historic rates to go live with, you guessed it, mommy and daddy. And it's not just a couple of adult kids here and there. I'm talking about nearly 50% of all 18 to 29-year-olds. The highest levels of failure to launch in 80 years. But these young adults claim they have no choice but to freeload at home, rent-free. They're victims. Why? Because they insist they can't afford to survive on their own in today's economy. But not everyone is on board with this new Boomerang Trend, because the naysayers claim this is just another way for parents to help weaken and misguide a generation of young adults even further.
I work 40 hours a week. I do not make enough to live on my own.
I don't care when they leave the house. They can live here forever. I don't have them pay rent. They do each kick in on their car insurance, but I don't have them pay anything else.
Get out of mom and dad, pay your own bills, because remember, success happens outside of your comfort zone.
I am 25 years old and I live with my parents. I've been able to set myself up in a pretty good position financially, and more importantly, I've been able to spend quality time with my parents.
There's a portion of my income that's given to my parents because they're covering all of my overhead costs. For those of us who do live at home with our parents, we should be contributing to the household in some way, shape, or form.
I would have saved a lot of money, a lot more money if I was living in my mom's house. But then again, I wouldn't be able to experience freedom, be able to be an adult.
As a realtor, I do work with a lot of people in their 20s, and a lot of them are coming from living at home. And I think that's literally just because it makes the most financial sense right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with making the smart financial choice by staying at home, saving up my money, and making sure that I'm setting myself up for success. If someone is going through something and their parents offer to let them live at home for free, I absolutely think that that is the right decision to make.
Well, that last young adult is 24 years old, Allie. She says she is currently living with her mother rent-free due to the cost of living being so high. Allie, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You say living with your mom allows you to not have to worry about money or even look at your bank account. It's a good deal if you can get it.
Yes, I do agree that living at home lets me be able to kind of stop surviving and start being able to build the business and the career that I want. I don't have to be stressed about rent or checking my savings account every day. I'm saving to be able to grow the business in the future that I'm trying to build, and I'm creating long-term stability for myself.
You're 24, right?
Correct, yes.
So that's 6 years of being an adult. How many of those years did you live on your own?
So I did previously move out for a little bit with somebody that I was dating at the time. I probably lived with him for about a year, maybe a little bit less. But again, I wasn't necessarily paying bills. I was kind of supporting in other ways around the home that we were living in.
Okay, so you've never been self-sufficient at all?
No.
Okay, how do you know you can do it?
Well, I have, spent a lot of time kind of saving, and I actually worked 3 jobs prior for a while. So I have a really good work ethic, and being a realtor, I have had to help guide a lot of first-time home buyers through the process of how to buy a home and the expenses that are involved in buying a home. So I'm aware of that side of things. I also have my parents who have had those conversations with me many times.
But you haven't actually done it?
I have not actually done it yet, no.
Okay. So do you think you could do it?
Yes, I absolutely think that I could do it. I think it's whether or not I feel like the time is now. I have a goal to be able to buy a home before 2026, which would mean I'm going to be 25 years old when I buy my first house. But I think that that's going to be a way better step for me than having to go and spend, $2,000 to $3,000 a month for renting a place that is not building me any equity.
How much do you save?
So I would say that I probably save around 70 to 80% of whatever income I have coming in.
Okay, now let's make a deal here, because I really like you and I like your attitude, and you seem really smart. And so I want to be really honest here, because I think that some good things can come out of this conversation. But we have to be really honest with each other. You said you never look at your bank account.
That's correct, yes.
How do you know how much you save?
Okay, I feel like that's a little bit taken out of context. I don't ever not look at my bank account. Whenever I have money coming in, that's when I go in and say, okay, I need to take this much out to put into my high yield savings account. And then whatever is not going into my savings account then goes into my checkings, which that's the part that I'm not necessarily looking at every month.
Yeah. How many hours do you think you work a week?
I mean, I'm building a new business, so as many hours as I can, at least 50.
But you don't pay any rent, right?
Right, that's correct.
And you have no set rules at the house.
I guess
These are quotes from you. And you say your mother pays mortgage, utilities, groceries, your phone, and your car insurance.
She doesn't pay for my groceries, but everything else, yes.
Okay, so you guys have a deal where you split up, like if groceries are $140 a month, you pay $40 and she pays $100 or something?
No, I go out and purchase my own groceries when I need new groceries.
Okay. You say you're dependent on your mom.
I mean, from the living at home standpoint, yes, for sure.
Well, I'm just reading your quote. I have a list of your quotes here. You say, I'm dependent on my mom. And you say, quote, mother sacrifices her own expenses to support me. Quote, doesn't buy herself new clothes or fancy things to provide for me.
I mean, from my perspective, I feel like that's what she does, but she might say something different.
Do you feel guilty about that she's sacrificing and not doing nice things for herself so she can do things for you?
I would say I definitely take that into consideration. And I tell her all the time, and I have these thoughts to myself that when I am successful and I am taking care of myself completely, that I want to make sure that I can give back to her, because I do acknowledge that she's made sacrifices for me being able to stay at home.
Yeah, you said she's the most giving person. Probably abuse that a little.
In the sense that I could be paying her some for living at home. Yes, I would say that it could be abuse in a sense, because I'm allowing her to continue to be so giving and let me live at home for free.
Yeah. And you say the economy, prices have skyrocketed everywhere, so it's hard to afford anything right now. I'm not surprised so many in my generation are living at home.
Yeah. I mean, because I have a lot of people in my social world that are the same age as me and have all told me the same thing. I mean, usually, like typically from 2021 to now is kind of when everyone moved back home, and now they're either trying to find someplace to rent or they're trying to buy their first house because they've been living at home saving up money.
Yeah, with prices skyrocketing, and they certainly have, you can imagine how your mother feels. But we have to take a break, and I've got some questions for you. Next, a mother who has built her career and brand on motivating others to face adversity and overcome failure. Now, she says parents allowing their adult children to live with them is just another example of what she calls coddle culture. We're going to add her to the conversation after the break. You've heard me talk about Jace Medical. If not, listen up, because they're doing incredible work in medical preparedness. And today, I've got two major updates to share. First up, the ivermectin use case. You've probably seen the headlines calling it a wonder drug. The scientist who discovered it even won a Nobel Prize, and now Jace is offering a 30-day supply at the best price you'll find anywhere. Next, the upgraded Jace case, an emergency supply of antibiotics delivered to your door. They've doubled the number of medications to 10 at just $20 more. And now, the most comprehensive and affordable kit available. Get it before you need it. Don't wait, order today. Visit jace.com and use code PHIL at checkout for a special discount. That's JASE.com, code PHIL.
Coddle culture has led to the systemic weakening of our kids. When we indulge every feeling and every emotion, we create a generation of kids who are fragile and soft. A generation that doesn't know how to bounce back because we've never allowed them to fail in the first place.
Well, joining us now is Jennifer Cohen, a well-known podcaster, brand strategist, author, and inspirational speaker who has built her successful brand on teaching people how to get what they want. Now, she says parents who allow their grown children to live at home are keeping them from becoming competent and mentally resilient adults. Jennifer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Phil.
Now, you
Pleasure.
believe the parents of Gen Z have created a generation of losers who are fearful and lazy. And that's a pretty bold, broad, and harsh statement. I would say it a lot harsher, but we'll stay there for now. But how do you think they are creating that result?
I do believe many young people today are struggling with resilience and coping skills because well-meaning parents, are protecting and overdoing. So our kids are not even they're not even attempting failure. There's zero discomfort. There's zero challenge. And my whole belief system is changing this coddle culture to a challenge culture, because that's how kids become successful over time and later on. And I also don't believe that if you want somebody to be mentally strong, you don't start as an adult. You kind of ingrain these habits early on as a child. and they live with it and it becomes more innate.
Well, see, you were listening to me talk to Allie, right?
Yeah, I was.
And you heard what Allie had to say, and in listening to her talk and all, it's obvious Allie is very intelligent. She's articulate,
Yeah.
she presents well, she has good social skills, she's obviously can present really well. And Allie, you're in sales, right? You're in real estate at this point. So
Yes, sir. Yes.
You know how to present, obviously. I mean, you're smart and intelligent. You've got all the tools, but here's my thought. I'm not sure that it's not like Allie and her mom went and sat down and said, okay, how can we screw this up? But the end result is still the same, because I think people learn by watching what they do. If you don't observe yourself overcoming obstacles, if you don't face adversity and get knocked down, get up, dust yourself off, and watch yourself do that and go, hey, I did that. I can attribute to myself the resiliency, the bounce back, the toughness. I can't attribute that to myself if I don't observe myself do that, but if I observe myself do it, then I can attribute that to myself. And if we cheat our kids out of the opportunity to see themselves do that, we're really cheating them. We're really taking that away from them. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, absolutely. I always say that competence or confidence is first starts with competence. So you need to feel competent to feel confident. And the only way to do that is through action. And I also wanted to say that I listened to the conversation so far you had with Allie. And Allie, you seem very self-aware. And it's not about the lack of knowledge, because you were very aware of what's happening at home with your mom and how hard she works and what she's doing for you. It's in the lack of execution into having a strategy to exit or to help implement while you're at home. So like you said, your mom is taking on the mortgage, the utilities, the car insurance, and you're paying for some groceries. So even though you know that she's doing the lion's share, you're still holding back in participating. So my first question is why? Why are you if you know all this, and it sounds like you love your mom and you appreciate your mom, why are you not attempting to make it a little bit easier for her?
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. And those are conversations that I've had with my mom. And I feel like that's why I haven't yet taken that step towards, paying and being more responsible around the house, just because she knows where I'm at in my business and the income or lack thereof income that I may or may not have coming in. And she knows that I respect her and that I do other things in place of being able to pay her right now. So I think we're just in a good agreement on that. And if that works for us, then, I don't see why there's a problem with that. If I, was just staying in my room all day, not doing anything, then I could understand why I should be treated differently and have to pay some rent. But I just feel like I'm helping her out in other ways, and I'm really trying to build towards the career that I want.
Yeah, see, here's my point, though, and I think this is what Jennifer's saying, is you don't realize, and I think there's a whole generation that doesn't realize what they're not developing by being out in the game and learning how to do what they're doing. It's like you don't get into the cockpit of a 747 for the first time with 300 people on board and take off. You have to fly this little plane first, and then this plane next, and then this plane next, and then this plane next. And you're not flying that little plane, and then the next plane, and then the next plane. You're 24, 25 years old, and you're living at home. Checkout time was 18. I mean, at my house, you checked out at 18. They break your plate at 18. Bye, you're gone. And it wasn't like punitive. The idea was it's time to learn how to do what you have to do. And it's cheating the kid if you don't give them the chance to do that, because you're creating a 6-year gap by not learning what you need to do to be tough enough to survive in the world. And developing the work ethic, developing the organizational skills, developing the motivation, developing everything you need to do to be self-sufficient. And
the other thing is resourcefulness. Being resourceful.
Yes. And I've got a big question for you. I'm going to add Allie's mother to this after the break. And then I've got a big question for Allie when we come back. A huge question that you've got to ask yourself, and a big question for her mother, too. We'll be right back. Hey, Dr. Phil here. Your savings are at risk. With the economy on shaky ground, the dollar losing value, and a $2 trillion deficit, things could spiral. Don't wait for the worst. Take control of your financial future now. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. What are you going to do to protect what's yours? Claim your special offer and learn how to reinforce your financial future. Visit drphilgold.com to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Visit drphilgold.com today.
I think students should be, or kids in general, should be self-sufficient and independent. But I think given the economic times, it's a little bit difficult to just have the expectations that everyone should just move out at 18.
I think it's okay to stay home into the 20s, not the 30s, because things are so expensive nowadays. I think they should save some of their money up before they move out.
I'm 27. I still am at home with my parents. I'm very happy to be there. They've never really given me any pressure to leave. As long as we're contributing to everything and really helping out.
I feel like moving out just teaches responsibility. You have to learn to pay your own electric bill, a gas bill.
If they're still around when they're 28 or 29, they need to be shown the door and go find a place to live.
Well, joining us now is Allie's mother, Sue. She says she has no problem allowing her daughter to live with her rent-free because she believes it will give Allie a solid financial head start. Sue, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You say you don't see the point in asking Allie to move out just so she can say, yep, I'm on my own. But that's not really the only point. That's a paper tiger you're kind of setting up to say, I'm not just going to have her move out just so she can say I live across the street. That's not the real point, is it?
No. So I'd say that, first off, I've been watching everything that's been said, and Allie is not giving herself enough credit. I just wrote down just a few notes while she was talking, while you guys all were talking.
Okay,
and,
shoot. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yep, shoot.
Yeah. So a couple of things is I've never gone with her to a job interview. You know, she got her first job, I think she was 15, maybe 16, part-time while going to high school.
Uh-huh.
She then moved on to a full-time job at a restaurant. But I've never, every job she's ever had, she's gotten on her own merit and, taking care of, doing whatever she needed to do to get that job. At the age of 18, she started an IRA with $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
That was her own money.
Mm-hmm.
At the age of, 17, she bought a car that was $7,000. I put $1,500 towards it. I did that for both my daughters. That's all I put in. That the rest was her money. She just this last October bought a replacement car because the car that she had bought when she was 17 was on its last leg and wouldn't move. She's always, gotten her own. I mean, the car that she just bought was, $21,000, her own cash. So to say that I've been coddling her, I could go on with other examples. I mean, I won't mention at the moment, but there have been plenty of times that she has not only done great things like that, but also fallen and gotten herself back on her feet on her own.
Can I interrupt for one second?
Yeah.
Do you realize that you're defending your daughter?
Yes. Because I'm proud of where she is.
Why do you feel like she can't defend herself?
Well, no, but
well, apparently you do. I think she's a delightful young woman. I think she's very bright and competent, and I don't hold a bad opinion of her at all. It's the dynamic between the two of you that seems dysfunctional to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, no, we are not dysfunctional. And maybe I didn't hear the same things. That I heard some things, and, maybe Jennifer was the one that kind of set me off a little about coddling. And I was trying to point out that Allie is not coddled. Really? Just because she lives at home.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say that my point is, as a whole, this has become a very coddle culture society. And I'm just meeting Allie for the first time. I've never met her before today. And my only point was, a lot of times we can have the information. We're much more capable and competent than we actually give ourselves credit for. And it sounds like Allie is very capable and quite competent. So she's actually is capable of way more. And I bet you she would get way further if she had a little bit more discomfort. And I think that's what my point was. She clearly kind of set the stage and the table for where you guys are and how you could be potentially suffering a little bit at home because of the economic culture. We all are, the young generation, the older generation. So the purpose, and when people are living together, it's usually because they unite to kind of make situations easier for the whole family. But it sounds like Allie's situations.
Let me give an analogy here, because I've worked a lot in rehabilitation, not drug rehabilitation. I've worked in behavioral medicine, medical psychology, and I've worked a lot with brain and central nervous system injuries and people that had to retrain their bodies and all. And if we had somebody that had lost the use of their arms or their legs or whatever, and we were retraining them to walk or to do activities of daily living. And I was working with someone that it would take them 10 minutes to go from a chair like I'm sitting in right now to the wall to flip a light switch on or off. Or I could step over there and do it for them in 3 seconds. What do you think the best thing was for me to do? The best thing for me to do was to require them to do every single thing they could possibly do. If it took them 2 minutes to get out of the chair and stand up and put one foot in front of the other, and then the other foot in front of that one, and the other foot in front of that one, and to get over there and flip that switch, that's what we did. We required them to do 100% of what they could do on that given day. We didn't require them to do 110% of what they could do, because that would be cruel. But we required them to do 100% of what they could do, and if we required them to do 70% of what they could do, that was sabotage. That was slowing their development and holding them back, and it slowed down their ability to get back with their family and run and play with their kids and have a normal and natural life. And that's exactly how I look at things psychologically, developmentally, socially, occupationally, and every other wise. And when we see a parent that does things for their children instead of requiring their children to do it, that's enabling, And that's not good for the child. That makes the parent feel better. That makes the parent not experience anxiety. That makes the parent feel comfortable and cheats the child out of learning what all they can do. And so they'll get to the next milestone later in life than they would if they learn to get over and flip that light switch themselves. And you can say you're the exception that proves the rule, but I don't think so. Allie, what do you say?
I feel like if I wanted to move out, rent something out right now, I absolutely could do that. But why would I do that when I have a place where I can live right now that works for me and for my parent, that allows me to, again, be able to build up the life that I want? Why would I have to indulge myself in the rat race? I'm not even comfortable living at home. It's not like I enjoy living at home. So like with the comfort aspect of it, it's like, I'm not comfortable where I'm at. I'm constantly trying to find different ways to build myself up and work harder each and every day. So it's just like, I just don't agree with it.
Necessity is the mother of invention. And here's a part of your life right now. I mean, these are things that you do in your life right now that you said you wouldn't be able to do. Like you go to soccer games and baseball games and football games and helicopter rides and leisure activities and concerts and vacations to Mexico and winery and hiking. And you might not be able to do all of those things if you were having to have a roommate and share rent and pay all of that. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But the whole point is, necessity is the mother of invention. I was homeless when I was 14. And when I hear people say, I can't really get a job, I know that's wrong, because when I was 14, I had a job every single day because I went door to door in downtown Kansas City and said, do you need a workroom cleared out? Do you need a stock room swept out? Do you need things thrown out in the trash? I was able to get a job every single day that I was homeless because I was willing to do whatever it took to get a job. And I learned that when I was 14, and I've never been without a job since that day because I learned it then. I didn't want to do it at the time, but I learned it then, and it served me well in my life. What are you not learning because you're at home and you've got somebody to do this for you and that for you and this for you? And I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know the things that you could be saying, wow, I did that. I did that. I saw myself do that. I organized this. I set that up. I did this. I did that. And, your mom lived paycheck to paycheck and doesn't want you to do that, but that's not necessarily bad. That's all I'm saying. That's not necessarily bad. Jennifer, is that a bad thing?
No, I totally agree with you, because when you work for something, or when you have to go without because you have to work, that's basically that was my whole point. Like, I think that right now the parents are allowing their children this luxurious life when they're going without. And to me, I believe that, like, you have to make sacrifices and everything's a choice. So if you can't afford something, then you don't go on your trip to Mexico, or you don't go on that helicopter ride. But when you work enough and you save up and then you actually get to do that thing, you value it so much more. And that's the thing that I think is really happening, is that we are giving our kids every comfort there is, where they don't even think, they get lazy to feel like they have to work for it themselves. And they won't appreciate it when they do get it, because it's become so available, so easy.
The point is, there's not a reason to not live at home. I'm not saying that's like some sick thing, but there are reasons to move out and live on your own. There aren't reasons to not live at home, but there are reasons to live on your own, because you do things then you won't do when you're at home. I don't care who you are. And when you're as sharp as you are, Allie, then you will go out and develop and blossom and do things that you'll never discover while you're living at home. And you'll be 6 or 7 years behind that development curve when you're living at home. Your mother's not like some sick, controlling woman that like, oh, I want to keep you crippled here under my thumb. I'm not saying that at all. You have a loving, nurturing mother. I'm not saying there's something wrong in that at all. I'm just saying what you're missing by not being on your own. That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense, Sue, at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, something about what you were saying is, number one, I just want to make sure that you know that Allie paid for those trips to Mexico or, the baseball games, etc. So it's not like I'm coddling her. I want to make sure that everyone understands I'm trying to do as much as I can do to set her up for success. And I let her, try to navigate those things. Now, do I agree that there are some things that she'll do differently when she's on her own? Yes. Will she, I don't know. Maybe the one thing that she doesn't do great right now is clean. So other than that.
Well, nobody's perfect. I'm not, okay. All right, look, we got to take a break. A 27-year-old woman who says the anxiety she has about her future and the scary world around her has left her with no other choice, but to live with her parents. We'll meet her after the break.
I still live at home due to anxiety, due to watching the news and just causing a lot of triggers, seeing a lot of crime happening, a lot of shootings happening at schools, and a lot of public places cause me to just not want to leave my house. I prefer to stay at home in the comfort of my own bed.
Well, Daisy is a 27-year-old woman who has never left home. She says the very thought of facing the world on her own terrifies her and at times causes paralyzing anxiety. So, Daisy, you say if the world wasn't such a scary place, you would be living on your own. So what is it that's so scary about it?
So yeah, I think I would be living on my own if it wasn't for everything that was happening in the world. That's like, you see shootings happening in public places. I don't really live in a nice area, so that's also like a very scary thing. Yeah, I just feel like I feel more comfort at home. I get anxiety everywhere I go. I'm very self-aware of everything. So I think that's like an issue for me, is that I'm very self-aware.
Yeah, have you been shot at?
No.
Have you been?
But I have been in like a mall shooting.
You were in a mall shooting?
Yeah.
You were in a mall and people started shooting each other?
Yeah, it was during Christmas. It was Black Friday, and they were robbing a place.
Were people killed?
No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Were you injured?
No, I wasn't. I was very scared, though.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. Do you work?
Yes, I do. I work in retail.
Are you scared in retail that somebody might come in and rob you?
Yeah, thankfully I work more in like the outlet type of malls, but I don't work far from another, because I work in a corporation. There's another one that it's not that far, and they recently had some type of stabbing there. So it is scary because you never know if it's going to hit at your store. So yeah, it is scary.
Yeah, now you're 27, right?
Yes, I am.
And you don't drive?
I do not.
Your parents drive you everywhere?
Yes.
Well, I have a big question for you, and I guess it's Allie as well. What would you guys do if all of a sudden your parents were just gone? If they just weren't there anymore? What would be your plan? What would you do? How would you cope the very next morning? And that's the question I want both of you to kind of contemplate, and I'll get your answers after the break. There is a historic rise. I mean, it's just not these two young ladies who are in their 20s and living at home. It's a massive increase in young adults that are living at home. Every situation is different. They're not all the same. Daisy, you experience a lot of anxiety. You don't drive yourself, and you're 27, and there's research that says that young adults now believe adulthood begins at 27. But my question is, I'll ask you first, what would you do if, not saying some big disaster or whatever, but just if all of a sudden your parents moved with no forwarding address? What would you do the next morning?
I actually never really thought about it, but I do feel like it also goes back to like when you're 18, you get thrown out, you have to find a job. I feel like that's what would happen if it happened to me. I would have to, get strong and have to go find a better job and start. I mean, I do take life seriously, but I feel like that's when life like really starts seriously. So I never really thought about it.
And Allie, you'd be equipped to do it. You don't think you would have a problem doing it, right?
I would not have a single problem with doing it. I know that I'm a hard worker. I've worked since I was 14 years old. I started with my own business at 14, mowing lawns. So I know how to get.
You'd have an apartment by noon and just be moving on, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
I would. 100%. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no,
I would.
that's what I'm saying. You've got savings. You have an apartment by noon, and you'd be to work by 1.
Yep, that's correct.
Showing a house. So you could do that. Daisy, you'd have a steeper hill to climb. But Jennifer, we've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young people right now that don't have an answer to that question.
Well, I think these are very separate situations. Allie and Daisy, it's very different. Daisy, I'm really concerned for, because that to me is so, I don't see movement. I mean, Daisy, my question is, if you have such debilitating anxiety, what are you doing for it? Do you have like tools in a toolbox? Are you exercising daily? Do you have a daily routine to kind of help with your mood, with your mental strength? Or are you just kind of just going day by day and just hoping it will subside, or living at home for the rest of your life? Or do you have how are you doing this?
So I got diagnosed with separation anxiety at the age of 7. So I've been dealing with this since as much as I could remember. I did see therapists growing up. I feel like none of them really helped. I do feel like being with my parents does help me a lot. Yeah, I do try my best. Getting a job helped me a lot. It helped me get out of my comfort zone and talk to people more. I don't really have social anxiety. I'm like really good at talking with people. So yeah, I just trying to work out and trying to work, I feel like helps me a lot, and it's been helping me because these past 3 years, I've been trying my best to try my anxiety, like to cure it. But there's really no cure to anxiety.
That's not true. It's not a matter of curing it, it's a matter of managing it, but there are things you can really do to help with that. We'll be right back. I want to thank Allie and Sue and Daisy for sharing their stories tonight. And of course, a big thank you to Jennifer Cohen for being here as well and sharing your expertise in this. Jennifer, thank you so much for that. And we'll put up links to where you can find Jennifer and all of her content and podcasts and all on our website here at drphil.com and Merit TV, so you can click and get more information that Jennifer has to offer. So thank all of you for sharing this. It's a big thing right now, adults remaining at home. Thank you for being here. We will see you tomorrow night. So long. Hey, Dr. Phil here. My network, Merit TV, has it all.
Now, let me blow your mind.
Merit TV's got the news that matters.
The selection of a new pope.
Entertainment you crave.
Busted.
Everybody in a good mood today?
And live events.
Surprise.
What am I, chopped liver?
With serious punch.
Big shot.
Go to merittv.com and download the Merit TV app today.